So yesterday, my mom looked at me, all bright eyed and bushy tailed, practically vibrating with excitement, and she just chirped, "When's the big day, sweetie? We need to finalize the guest list for Aunt Carol's gluten free options." And I just stood there, holding a half eaten taco, trying to find the right words. Because, well, I had to say, actually, Mom, it was yesterday. Like 3 p.m. yesterday. Courthouse. We already did it. You should have seen her face. Priceless. Look, it wasn't like we woke up on a Tuesday morning and randomly decided, hey, let's elope. No, no, no. We'd been engaged for 14 months, practically a lifetime in wedding planning years, and let me tell you, every single conversation about the wedding turned into a spreadsheet. And not a fun, color-coded spreadsheet with cute fonts. More like a monstrous, ever-expanding Excel sheet of doom. The guest list, for instance. It started innocently enough, just close family and friends, maybe 80 people. Then Uncle Bob remembered his college roommate from 1987, and suddenly, we were staring down a list of 220 potential attendees. Each name felt like a tiny, demanding dictator. Oh, you have to invite Cousin Bethany. She flew all the way for your second birthday party. Never mind that I haven't seen Cousin Bethany since that second birthday party. It was exhausting. And the money. Oh, the money. The caterer wanted $45 a head for chicken. $45. For chicken! I could buy a whole chicken farm for that, probably. We'd sit there, looking at these astronomical figures, and just sigh. It felt less like planning a celebration of love and more like funding a small, very expensive one-day festival. Then there were the moms. Bless their hearts. They meant well. But both moms had separate, very strong opinions on which cousins deserved invitations, what kind of flowers were appropriate for a fall wedding, and whether an open bar was a necessity or a gateway to public embarrassment. Every single Sunday dinner, which used to be a calm, delicious affair, morphed into a high-stakes referendum on napkin colors, linen or paper, eggshell or ivory. It was like we were deciding the fate of nations, not table settings. We tried downsizing, honestly. We did. We attempted to trim the guest list, suggest a simpler menu, push back on some of the more extravagant suggestions, but that just triggered a cascade of guilt trips. You're going to disappoint your great aunts. They've been looking forward to this for years. Great aunts we'd met maybe once or twice at a distant family reunion, who probably wouldn't recognize us if we stood naked on their lawn. The emotional blackmail was real, and it was draining us. One night, after another particularly grueling family dinner that involved a heated debate over whether a string quartet was too pretentious or just the right touch of class, my partner and I just looked at each other. We were sitting on the couch, surrounded by discarded wedding magazines, both looking utterly defeated. He said, "You know, we could use the down payment money for a house, fly to nowhere, sign the paper, and just be done with it." And I swear, in that moment, the idea felt like a breath of fresh air. Like pure oxygen, flooding my lungs after being underwater for too long. It wasn't just an idea. It was a revelation. A liberation. We talked for hours that night, really talked, about what we wanted. We wanted to be married. We wanted to celebrate our love. We didn't want to host a spectacle for hundreds of people we barely knew, or spend our life savings on one day, or navigate the treacherous waters of family politics. We wanted simple, intimate, and meaningful. The more we talked, the more right it felt. So we made a decision, a secret one. We set a date 3 weeks out, a Monday, because who gets married on a Monday? Perfect for flying under the radar. We told absolutely nobody. We booked the earliest slot at the clerk's office, feeling like we were planning some kind of elaborate bank heist. Only the loot was our own peace of mind. We even swore the Uber driver to secrecy on the way there, half joking, but also half serious. He just chuckled and wished us luck. The thrill of it all, the sheer audacity, was intoxicating. We were taking back our wedding, one clandestine step at a time. It was ours, finally, and that feeling was everything. We knew some feelings might get hurt, but the thought of finally being married, without all the external noise, was just too compelling to ignore. We wanted to invest in our future, not in a single day of pomp and circumstance. The morning of our secret wedding felt surreal. Not the frantic, chaotic energy I'd always imagined for a wedding day, but a quiet, almost sacred calm. I didn't have a white dress, a veil, or a bridal party buzzing around me. Instead, I wore a cream blazer I already owned, A stylish, slightly oversized one that felt sophisticated, but also perfectly me. It wasn't a wedding dress, but it was my outfit for my wedding. He, on the other hand, dusted off the navy suit he'd worn for his brother's wedding a few years back. It fit him perfectly, and seeing him in it, knowing what we were about to do, made my heart flutter in a way no expensive bespoke suit ever could. We didn't have a fancy bridal suite. We were in a hotel room, a nice one, but nothing over the top. And instead of a gourmet breakfast spread, we were hunched over a small table, nibbling on grocery store donuts, the kind with too much glaze and sprinkles. Our vows? We scribbled them down on hotel stationery, the kind with the fancy embossed logo. There was something incredibly authentic about it. The slightly smudged ink, the hurried corrections, the raw emotion pouring out onto cheap paper. We'd been together for years, but trying to condense all that love and commitment into a few short paragraphs felt like a beautiful challenge. We laughed, we teared up, and we ate donuts. It was perfect. Our guest list consisted of 2 friends, just 2. They were our witnesses, our cheerleaders, and the only people on earth who knew our little secret. We chose them because they were our ride or dies, the ones who truly understood us and wouldn't judge our unconventional path. They were thrilled, sworn to secrecy, and genuinely excited to be part of our little rebellion. One of them even pulled double duty as our photographer. She was a classmate from college, an art student who loved shooting candid moments, and she offered her services for free, just for the experience and a few donuts. Her presence felt less like a vendor and more like an extension of our friendship, capturing the raw, unpolished joy of the day. The courthouse itself was, well, it was a courthouse. Fluorescent lights, slightly scuffed floors, and the distinct smell of old paper and bureaucracy. Not exactly the romantic chapel setting, but it was real. The officiant, a kind but very busy woman, mispronounced my last name not once, but twice. We both just exchanged a quick, amused glance, a silent inside joke in the making. And then, despite the sterile environment and the mispronunciation, as we looked into each other's eyes and repeated those simple, profound words, we both cried. Big, fat, happy tears. It was 11 minutes, start to finish. 11 minutes that changed everything. No grand entrance, no procession, no elaborate ceremony. Just us. Our 2 friends, a slightly flustered officiant, and a lifetime of commitment. Afterward, we didn't go to a lavish reception. We walked hand in hand to the ramen place where we'd had our very first date years ago. The same cozy booth, the same delicious broth. It was a full circle moment, a quiet celebration that felt deeply significant. We slurped noodles, still buzzing from the ceremony, and we posted nothing. No Instagram stories, no Facebook announcements, no tweets, nothing. It felt like we'd pulled off a heist, a thrilling high-stakes operation, except the loot wasn't diamonds or cash. It was just us, married, with 0 notifications on our phones, just pure, unadulterated secret bliss. The quiet satisfaction was almost overwhelming. It was truly ours, and that made it infinitely more special. Fast forward 24 hours. The newlywed glow was still very much present, a secret little hum beneath our skin. We walked into my parents' kitchen for our usual Tuesday night taco feast, trying to act as normal as possible. My mom was at the stove, stirring ground beef with a wooden spoon, humming some oldie, completely oblivious. The aroma of simmering spices filled the air, and for a split second, I almost chickened out. Almost. So, Mom asked without even turning around, her voice cheerful, "When's the wedding, honey? I saw the most darling little floral arrangements at the grocery store. Perfect for the reception." And that's when the room, the entire bustling kitchen, shrank to a pinhole. The sounds of sizzling meat, Mom's humming, even the distant drone of the TV, all faded into a muffled hum. My heart hammered against my ribs. This was it. The moment of truth. I took a deep breath, looked at my partner, who gave me a subtle, encouraging nod, and then I just blurted it out. "We got married yesterday, Mom." The spoon stopped midair, dead still. The humming ceased. For a beat, 2 beats, an eternity, there was just silence. Then she slowly, deliberately spun around. Her eyes, usually so warm and full of life, were wide, almost disbelieving. Her mouth was slightly agape. "That's not funny," she said, her voice flat, devoid of its usual warmth. It wasn't a question. It was a statement, a command to retract the ridiculous lie. I knew this was going to be tough. I pulled out my phone, quickly navigated to the video my friend had taken of the 11-minute ceremony. No, Mom, really, I said, my voice a little shaky. We did. Look. I pressed play, holding the phone out to her. She peered at the small screen, and as the image of us standing before the officiant, exchanging rings, came into focus, her jaw visibly dropped. The wooden spoon, forgotten in her hand, clattered into the pot of ground beef, sending a spray of rich red taco sauce splattering across the pristine white countertop. It looked like tiny, meaty fireworks exploding. Just then, my dad walked in, probably drawn by the sudden silence followed by the clatter. He took in the scene. Mom, frozen, staring at my phone. Me, looking a little green. The sauce-splattered counter. He calmly picked up his phone from the charging station, tapped it, and said in his usual measured tone, "Somebody start talking." We sat at the kitchen table, the tacos forgotten, slowly burning in the oven. The air was thick with unspoken questions and simmering shock. We replayed the entire courthouse clip, the full 11 minutes, while they both stared, unblinking, in silence. It wasn't a comfortable silence. It was the kind of silence that feels like forever, like the world has stopped spinning and is waiting for you to explain yourself. Every glance, every shift in their posture, every furrow in their brows, felt like a judgment. We just let the video speak for itself, bracing for the inevitable storm. The smell of burnt tacos became the backdrop to the most awkward, pivotal family dinner of our lives. That silence, the one that stretched on forever while the courthouse clip played, eventually broke, but not with an explosion. It broke with Dad's questions, delivered with an almost clinical precision that belied the shock in his eyes. His first question, calm but firm, was it legal? I nodded, my voice still a little tight. Yes, Dad, completely legal. We signed all the papers, got the certificate. It was almost comical, the practicality of his immediate concern, but it made sense for him. He's a man of rules and order. Second question, delivered with a slight tilt of his head, a flicker of concern in his gaze. Are you pregnant? I almost laughed, a nervous, relieved chuckle. No, Dad, definitely not pregnant. No shotgun wedding here, just a wedding. The relief that visibly washed over his face was palpable. It was clear his mind had jumped to all the worst-case scenarios, and he was systematically ruling them out. Third question, softened now, almost gentle. Do you need money? No, I replied, shaking my head. Actually, that's kind of why we skipped the whole circus. We saved a ton. We're thinking of putting it towards a down payment for a house. At that, Dad let out a long, slow exhale. A half laugh, half sigh escaped him. He ran a hand over his face, shaking his head slightly, a small, genuine smile finally breaking through. Well, he muttered, looking at me, then at my partner. I guess I saved on the father of the bride speech then. It was his way of saying, I get it. I'm okay. A huge weight lifted off my shoulders. His pragmatic nature had cut through the initial shock and landed on acceptance, even a touch of admiration. Just as the tension in the kitchen was beginning to dissipate, a new kind of chaos erupted. My sister, bless her heart, was upstairs, completely engrossed in some intense online gaming session. My mom, still a bit stunned, had managed to forward the video to her. Within seconds, we heard a thundering stampede down the stairs. My sister burst into the kitchen, phone still in hand, eyes wide with a mixture of disbelief and pure joy. She practically launched herself at us, tackling us both in a fierce, bone-crushing hug. You did what? Oh my God, this is amazing. Her initial shock quickly morphed into an almost giddy excitement. Before we could even fully process her hug, she had her phone out, fingers flying across the screen. Group text, she declared, already typing furiously. Extended family, they need to know. Within 5 minutes, my phone, which had been blissfully silent for the past 24 hours, started buzzing nonstop. It was like mission control during an asteroid alert, a cacophony of notifications. My cousins, texting in all caps, OMG, no way. My aunts, sending a flurry of excited, confused, and slightly scandalized emojis. And then, the piece de resistance, Grandma, leaving a series of increasingly loud and bewildered Facebook voice notes. What is this I'm hearing about a wedding? Why wasn't I told? Are you really married, dear? Each voice note got progressively more dramatic, her voice rising in pitch. The kitchen, which had just started to calm down, was now a whirlwind of digital and emotional noise. In the midst of it all, Mom was still standing by the stove, holding the now cold wooden spoon. Her eyes were a little watery as she kept repeating, almost to herself, "I would have liked to be there." Her voice cracked with a mixture of hurt and longing as she absently stirred the cold ground meat, a poignant image of her dashed expectations. It was a stark reminder that even in our joy, there were ripples of disappointment we had to navigate. The next hurdle was confessing to his parents. Driving across town, our hearts were pounding like we were confessing to Grand Theft Auto, not announcing a marriage. The earlier, slightly giddy relief from my family's reaction was replaced by a fresh wave of anxiety. We rehearsed our lines, debated who would speak first, and tried to anticipate every possible question. This was a different dynamic. His parents were generally more reserved, more traditional. His mom, always impeccably dressed, and with a warm smile, opened the door. She took one look at our linked hands, our slightly flushed faces, and her smile widened. "Oh, you two are just glowing," she exclaimed, her eyes twinkling. "What's the occasion? Did you get a promotion? Tell me everything." We exchanged a nervous glance. This was it. We took a deep breath, and, in unison, like perfectly rehearsed actors, we said, "We eloped yesterday." Her smile faltered for a split second. Then she burst out laughing, a light, tinkling sound. "Oh, you two. Always with the jokes." She clearly thought we were pulling her leg, probably assuming it was some elaborate prank. But then, her eyes drifted down to our left hands, the simple gold bands gleaming subtly. Her laughter died in her throat. The realization dawned on her, slowly, like a sunrise. Her hand flew to her mouth, covering it as if to stifle a gasp. She sank onto the sofa, her knees buckling slightly, her eyes wide with a mixture of shock and, I could tell, a touch of hurt. "Without your mother?" she whispered, the words barely audible, a raw, wounded note in her voice. It was the same sentiment my own mom had expressed, the universal lament of a mother who feels she missed a monumental moment. My partner, sensing her distress, immediately knelt in front of her, taking her hands in his. He explained, gently but firmly, "Mom, we just wanted something simple. No drama, no big fuss. It wasn't about excluding anyone, truly. It was about us, and what felt right for us." He elaborated on the wedding planning nightmare, the spreadsheets, the endless opinions, the overwhelming pressure. He painted a picture of two people drowning in expectations, longing for a quiet island of their own. Just then, his dad walked in from his study, probably drawn by the unusual quiet. Ever the practical one, his first question cut straight to the chase, bypassing all the emotional preamble. "Did you at least record it?" We both practically sagged with relief. A practical question. Something we could answer definitively. "Yes, Dad, we did." I quickly pulled out the USB stick my friend had given us with the video files. He took it, examining it like a precious artifact, a faint, approving nod on his face. His mom, still a bit stunned, reached out and clutched the USB stick, holding it like it was a set of hospital x-rays, the tangible proof of something she couldn't quite believe had happened. They insisted we stay for dinner. What followed was one of the most surreal meals of my life. His dad, a man of few words anyway, went out to the grill and fried steaks in a stunned quiet. The only sounds were the sizzle of meat, the clinking of plates, and the occasional awkward cough. Conversation was minimal, interspersed with moments where his mom would just stare at us, then at the USB stick, then back at us, as if trying to reconcile the image of her son, married, with the fact that she hadn't known. It was clear their minds were reeling, processing this monumental, unexpected news. The air was thick with unasked questions and simmering emotions. But beneath it all, there was a tentative acceptance, a fragile understanding that we had to hope would grow into full forgiveness. The next morning, the fallout continued, reaching even the furthest branches of the family tree. The phone rang, and on the other end was my great-aunt Mildred, a woman whose voice could curdle milk. She was furious, absolutely incandescent. "How dare you?" she began without so much as a hello. Her voice crackled with indignation. "You denied the family a ceremony, a proper celebration. What were you thinking?" I tried to explain, to soothe, to justify, but she wasn't listening. "It's an insult, a slap in the face to tradition, and after all the trouble I went to, thinking about what to get you." I was going to send a crystal bowl. Now I suppose I still have to send it, even though you clearly don't appreciate family. The image of a crystal bowl, heavy and probably hideous, being mailed to us for a wedding she was furious about, was almost comical in its absurdity. "You'll have to haul it home yourself, mind you," she sniffed. I apologized, again, trying to sound sincere despite the rising irritation. "Aunt Mildred, we're really sorry you feel left out. We'll definitely celebrate later, with everyone." But she wasn't having it. She huffed, and then, without another word, she hung up mid-sentence. Classic Mildred. The digital world wasn't much kinder. Our still non-existent social media announcement was already attracting passive-aggressive attention. Under a benign photo my cousin had posted of her cat, there were comments from other relatives, clearly aimed at us, filled with crying emojis and thinly veiled criticisms like, "Some people just don't understand the importance of family traditions," and "So sad to miss such a special day." It was a weird, indirect form of public shaming, and it was surprisingly effective in making me feel a pang of guilt. My mom, meanwhile, had shifted from shock to a more persistent, nagging concern. She started texting me hourly. "Are you feeling guilty yet? Do you regret it?" I just keep thinking about what could have been. Each text was a tiny pinprick, a reminder of the hurt we'd caused. I answered honestly, because what else could I do? "A little, Mom," I text back, but mostly relieved. And it was true. The guilt was a small, yapping puppy, nipping at my heels, but the overwhelming feeling was one of profound, exhilarating relief. Relief that we hadn't caved, that we had chosen us, that we were finally married without all the external noise. It was a complicated cocktail of emotions, but relief was definitely the dominant flavor. The angry aunt, the crying emojis, Mom's persistent texts, they were all part of the emotional landscape we had to navigate. But they couldn't diminish the core joy of what we had done. After navigating the initial family fallout, we decided it was time to unleash the news on our friends. We figured they'd be less prone to guilt trips about great aunts and more likely to celebrate our sheer audacity. We chose our main group chat, affectionately titled "No Chicken, Just Vows," a nod to our catering dilemma. We uploaded a single grainy photo, us signing the license at the courthouse, looking a little overwhelmed but utterly thrilled. The caption was simple: "Surprise! We did a thing yesterday. We're married." And then the replies exploded. It was a glorious, chaotic symphony of digital exclamations. "Iconic," one friend texted, followed by a string of fire emojis. "Literally the most you thing you could ever do." "Wait, so like, for real?" Another chimed in, clearly still processing. "Does this mean I can wear jeans to the reception? Because I already picked out a killer pair." "Are we still throwing you a lingerie shower? Asking for a friend?" "Who is me?" came another, making us laugh out loud. One friend, Sarah, who had genuinely been excited about being a bridesmaid and had already bought the dress, sent a meme of Steve Carell screaming, "No!" from The Office. It was perfect. We knew she was teasing, but there was a tiny, understandable edge of mock despair. We quickly reassured her that while she wouldn't be walking down an aisle, her dress would absolutely be welcome at whatever low-key celebration we eventually conjured up. The messages kept pouring in. Some were genuinely shocked, some were ecstatic, some were just trying to piece together the timeline. "So you just went? Like on a Monday? Did you even have cake? Who was there? Spill." It was like a digital interrogation, but a fun one. To appease the masses and to celebrate our new status, we promised a backyard barbecue once we closed on the house we were now saving for. The idea was to have an informal gathering, a true celebration of friendship and love, without any of the wedding industry nonsense. Their demands were immediate and enthusiastic. "Kegs, a slip and slide. Can we get a bouncy castle for the adults? Someone needs to bring the giant Jenga." It was exactly the kind of unpretentious, joyful response we'd hoped for. Our friends, it turned out, were our kind of people. They understood that the marriage was the point, not the production. And their excitement, their genuine happiness for us, was a balm after the more complicated family reactions. The group chat buzzed late into the night, a testament to the fact that even without a traditional ceremony, our union was being celebrated loudly and enthusiastically by the people who mattered most to us. It felt good. Really good. That night, after the storm of family reactions and the joyful chaos of the friends group chat had subsided, we needed a moment. Just us. We drove out to a quiet spot, found a deserted parking lot overlooking the city lights, and sat on the hood of his car. The air was cool, the city hummed a distant murmur. We shared earbuds, listening to the playlist we would have used for our first dance, a mix of indie folk and classic soul that felt deeply personal. It was a moment of quiet reflection, a chance to truly check in with each other. We asked each other the scary questions, the ones that had been lurking beneath the surface of all the excitement and relief. Do we regret excluding our parents? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. He paused, looking out at the city lights. Not really, he admitted, turning to meet my gaze. I mean, I hate that they were hurt, that they felt left out. But the process of planning a big wedding, the stress, the drama, the financial drain? No, I don't regret escaping that. I nodded, a profound sense of agreement washing over me. We both acknowledged the pang of guilt, that familiar puppy nipping at our heels, but it was overshadowed by the sheer relief of having done it our way. Would we do it again? He asked, a slight smile playing on his lips. Absolutely, I said without hesitation, a grin spreading across my face. 100%. Maybe we'd send them a text the day of instead of the day after, but yeah, definitely. The relief, a deep, abiding sense of peace, still outweighed the guilt. But that guilt was still there, a small, persistent shadow. It was a reminder that even when you make the right decision for yourselves, there are often repercussions, emotional ripples that spread outwards. We couldn't ignore it, nor did we want to. We loved our families, and their feelings mattered, even if we hadn't prioritized them in the moment of our elopement. So, we started brainstorming. How could we bridge this gap? How could we include them without sacrificing the intimacy and simplicity we craved? We decided to host a low-key cookout. Nothing fancy, just good food, good company, and an atmosphere of celebration. We'd invite both families, our friends, anyone who wanted to come. We even thought about printing extra copies of our vows, maybe even the ones we scribbled on hotel stationery for anyone who wanted to read them. It would be a chance to share a piece of our private ceremony with them. And the expensive champagne we'd saved by skipping chair covers and floral arrangements? Oh, that was definitely going to be flowing. It felt like a good compromise, a way to acknowledge their desire for celebration while staying true to our minimalist, personal vision. It was a step towards healing, a way to show them that our love and our marriage was big enough to include everyone, even if the initial ceremony wasn't. The cookout plan felt like a good step, a bridge to mend some of the ruffled feathers. But before we could fully embrace the celebratory aspect, there was one more piece of the puzzle to share, particularly with my dad. He was, as I mentioned, a very practical man, and money, or rather smart financial decisions, spoke volumes to him. So a few days later, I pulled out my laptop and opened the simple, elegant spreadsheet we'd created to track our elopement expenses. It was surprisingly satisfying to look at. Dad, I said, catching him as he was reading the newspaper, I wanted to show you something. He lowered the paper, a hint of curiosity in his eyes. Oh, what's this? A post-nuptial budget review? He quipped, a faint smile playing on his lips. Something like that. I grinned. Our total cost breakdown for the wedding. I started listing the items, watching his expression shift from skeptical to amused, then to genuinely impressed. Marriage license? $60. A bargain, honestly, for a lifetime commitment. Efficient fee? $40. Quick, efficient, and slightly mispronouncing my last name, but got the job done. Photographer? $0. Our amazing friend, who captured every raw, emotional moment for free. Ramen for our post-ceremony celebration? $22. Best $22 we've ever spent. Parking ticket, because we were so giddy we forgot to feed the meter. $18. A small but memorable tax on spontaneous joy. I looked up, letting the numbers sink in. Grand total, Dad? Under $150. He whistled, a low, impressed sound. He pushed his newspaper aside, leaning forward, a genuine look of admiration on his face. $150, he repeated, shaking his head. You know, the open bar estimate I saw for your original wedding plans. That alone was $12,000. $12,000 for people to drink lukewarm beer and cheap wine. He paused, then chuckled. You kids are smarter than I gave you credit for. It was a huge moment. His approval, his pragmatic understanding, felt like a major win. And then, something truly wonderful happened. My mom, who had been sitting quietly, still a little subdued since the reveal, looked up. A slow, genuine smile spread across her face. The first truly happy, unburdened smile I'd seen since we told her. Well, she said, her voice softer. That's money towards my grandbaby's college fund, then, isn't it? And just like that, the tension that had been hanging in the air, the unspoken disappointment, the lingering hurt, broke. It shattered like a piñata, showering us with laughter and a renewed sense of connection. Her words weren't just about money, they were about the future, about grandchildren, about acceptance. It was her way of saying, okay, I get it. I'm on board. And I'm still excited for your future, however you choose to build it. It was a beautiful, unexpected moment of grace, and it made the entire awkward budget confession absolutely worth it. The grandbaby's college fund comment from Mom had been a turning point, a crack in the wall of lingering hurt. But we knew that rebuilding trust, especially after such a significant secret act, would take more than one shared laugh. It would take effort, honesty, and a willingness to truly listen. So we scheduled a brunch with both sets of parents. It felt a bit like a diplomatic summit, but a necessary one. We arrived armed with offerings, beautifully printed copies of our handwritten vows, the ones from the hotel stationery, Mom's favorite flowers, and a pristine USB stick containing all the raw footage from our 11-minute ceremony. We wanted to offer them everything we could, to show them what they had missed, and to be completely transparent. We sat down, and the questions began. They weren't accusatory anymore, but genuinely curious, tinged with the desire for understanding. Why Monday? My dad asked, still grappling with the unconventional timing. We explained that it was the quietest day at the courthouse, ensuring maximum privacy and minimal fuss. Why the secrecy? His mom asked, her voice soft. We talked about the overwhelming planning, the pressure, the sheer desire for intimacy. Why no dress? My mom inquired, a touch of wistfulness in her tone. I explained my cream blazer, how it felt more authentic, less like a costume. We answered every single question, patiently, openly, and without defense. We didn't try to justify our choices as superior, but simply as our choices. And crucially, we listened. We listened to their hurt, to their feelings of exclusion, to their dashed expectations of a traditional wedding. It was hard to hear, but it was necessary. We acknowledged their emotions, validated their feelings, and let them know that while our decision was firm, their feelings mattered to us. After a long, cathartic conversation, something shifted. My dad, ever the stoic, looked at us, a quiet pride in his eyes. You know, he admitted, I can't say I wouldn't have preferred a big party. But there's something to be said for taking ownership, for doing things your own way. I'm proud you stuck to your guns. It was a huge concession from him, a testament to his respect for our independence. His mom, holding the printed vows, smiled faintly. I'm still a little sad I wasn't there, she confessed. But I'm also glad you didn't cave to all that pressure. It sounds like it was quite overwhelming. Her words were a balm, an acknowledgement that our reasons were valid. By the end of brunch, the air felt lighter, clearer. We set a date for a joint dinner the following month, a casual potluck, so no one felt any financial strain or obligation. And when we said goodbye, the hugs weren't stiff or perfunctory. They were warm, lingering embraces that felt like cautiously applied glue, slowly, gently, mending the cracks. We knew it wouldn't be an instant fix, but it was a solid, hopeful start. The foundation of trust, once shaken, was slowly but surely being reinforced, brick by honest brick. With the air cleared and trust cautiously mended, the idea of a public celebration, a cookout, felt less like an obligation and more like a genuine desire to share our joy. We wanted to create an event that reflected us, casual, fun, and focused on connection, not spectacle. Our first step was practical, finding a venue. We booked a city park pavilion, a charming rustic spot with picnic tables and plenty of open space. The cost? A glorious $40 for the entire afternoon. Compared to the thousands quoted for traditional venues, it felt like stealing. We envisioned lawn games, laughter, and an easygoing atmosphere. Next, the invitations. We designed a simple, heartfelt email invite, ditching the formal stationery and RSVPs. The title was a playful nod to our recent antics. We eloped, you're still invited. The body of the email explained our courthouse wedding, our reasons for keeping it intimate, and our desire to celebrate our marriage with all our loved ones in a relaxed, informal setting. We included a few key requests. Please bring your favorite lawn chairs, your best stories, and your signature dish for a potluck feast. The beauty of this approach was the complete absence of typical wedding stress. No registry to agonize over, No complex +1 politics to navigate. If you wanted to bring someone, great. No agonizing seating chart to orchestrate, trying to keep feuding relatives apart. It was pure, unadulterated freedom. The focus was entirely on community, on sharing good food and good times. My sister, still buzzing from the iconic elopement news, immediately volunteered to be the DJ. Her equipment? A powerful Bluetooth speaker and an eclectic playlist she'd been curating for months. No expensive band, no cheesy DJ with a fog machine. Just good tunes and spontaneous dance-offs. His dad, having fully embraced our unconventional path, offered to smoke a brisket. A whole, glorious, slow-smoked brisket. That alone was enough to guarantee a great turnout. My mom, ever the traditionalist at heart, made one request. Could we at least have a cake cutting? She asked, her eyes hopeful. We happily agreed, but instead of a towering, multi-tiered confection, we decided on a small, perfect lemon cake. Why lemon? Because it's our favorite. Not because tradition demanded it, not because it was the right wedding cake flavor, but because it was ours. It was another small, deliberate choice that underscored the entire philosophy of our marriage, making it about us, authentically. This celebration was shaping up to be exactly what we wanted, a joyous, stress-free reflection of our love story, shared with all the people who mattered. Just when I thought the emotional roller coaster was settling into a gentle glide, Grandma called. 3 days after the brunch with our parents, her voice, usually a little shaky, held a surprising clarity. "Honey," she began, "I had the most wonderful dream last night." My heart braced itself. Grandma's dreams could be prophetic or just plain wild. "I dreamed of courthouse bells," she continued, "and you and your young man, just smiling, holding hands. No big crowds, no fuss, just love." And I woke up feeling so happy. I was stunned. Courthouse bells? In a dream? It was such a specific, unexpected detail, and it felt like a profound validation. It was as if her subconscious, unburdened by societal expectations, had processed our news and found peace with it. A few days later, a package arrived in the mail. Inside was a quilt, a beautiful handmade quilt, bursting with vibrant colors and intricate stitching. Grandma had started it when we first got engaged, a loving project she'd been working on for over a year, and in one of the corner squares, meticulously stitched in delicate blue thread, were our initials and the date of our secret wedding. Tucked inside the folds of the quilt was a small handwritten note, her familiar slightly shaky script filling the page. It read, "Love is bigger than parties. Sorry I cried. Love you forever." I stood in the post office parking lot, the quilt clutched to my chest, and I just started to cry. Big, hot, relieved tears. It wasn't just a quilt. It was an act of forgiveness, a tangible blessing, a profound message of acceptance. It was the moment I realized, truly realized, that forgiveness doesn't always come with grand gestures or dramatic apologies. Sometimes it arrives quietly, unexpectedly, folded neatly in an envelope, stitched into a quilt, whispered in a dream. It was more meaningful than any lavish gift, a true testament to the enduring, unconditional nature of family love, even when tested by unconventional choices. Grandma, in her quiet wisdom, had shown us that sometimes the simplest blessings are the most powerful. One of the unexpected joys of our informal cookout plan was the sheer flexibility it offered, especially when it came to the guest list. Since we had skipped formal invitations, there were no strict rules about +1s, which turned out to be a blessing. Friends started reaching out, tentatively. "Hey, I know this is super casual, but I've started seeing someone new. Would it be okay if I brought them?" Our answer was always an enthusiastic, "Yes, absolutely." The whole point of this celebration was connection, community, and sharing our joy. The more, the merrier. It was a refreshing change from the usual wedding guest list anxieties, where every +1 felt like an added expense and a logistical nightmare. Here, it was just another person to share a burger and a laugh with. Then came the truly unique requests. My cousin, Emily, called, sounding a little sheepish. "So, I know this is probably a long shot, but could I bring my dog? He's super well behaved, I promise. He just gets a little anxious when I leave him alone for too long." We paused, then looked at each other and burst out laughing. "A dog?" I asked, grinning. "Emily, that's genius. Of course, bring your dog." In fact, we decided to lean into it. We bought a batch of dog-friendly cupcakes from a local pet bakery, just in case other furry friends decided to crash the party. It added another layer of whimsical charm to our unconventional celebration. The guest list, which we had initially envisioned as a cozy 30, quickly ballooned to 50, then 60, then even more. But here's the thing, the stress level stayed remarkably low. Why? Because the park pavilion was huge. It allowed for chaos. It allowed for cornhole tournaments, for kids running around, for impromptu dance-offs, and yes, for well-behaved dogs. There were no rigid expectations, no tight schedules, no formal seating. It was just a big, happy gathering, a potluck of people and personalities, all coming together to celebrate love in the most relaxed way possible. The ballooning guest list felt like a testament to the fact that people wanted to celebrate with us, on our terms, and that felt incredibly validating. The night before the cookout felt like a different kind of wedding eve. No last-minute dress fittings, no frantic calls to florists, no sleepless nights worrying about the weather or seating arrangements. Instead, we were elbow-deep in DIY projects, but the fun kind. We picked up a stack of folding tables we'd borrowed from a local community center. We thrifted mismatched tablecloths from various charity shops, a tapestry of patterns and colors that somehow, against all odds, looked charmingly eclectic. Total decoration spend, a whopping $38. We strung fairy lights, salvaged from a clearance bin after Christmas, across the pavilion ceiling, imagining the soft glow they would cast as dusk settled. It was simple, resourceful, and utterly charming. As we worked, untangling strings of lights and unfolding tables, we found ourselves laughing, giddy with the contrast to what could have been. We kept imagining the alternative, the ballroom, the endless soul-crushing decisions, the chair sashes perfectly matched to the napkin rings costing a fortune, the drama over centerpieces. Are lilies too common? Should we go with peonies, even if they're out of season and cost a small fortune? The relentless vendor coordination calls, the contracts, the deposits, the pressure to make everything perfect for a day that would be over in a blink. The comparison made us truly giddy. We looked at our mismatched tablecloths, our cheap fairy lights, and felt a profound, almost mischievous joy. We chose ramen and courthouse fluorescent lighting over a ballroom and all its accompanying anxieties. And in that moment, we knew, without a shadow of a doubt, that we had made the right choice. This simple, hands-on preparation felt infinitely more meaningful, more us, than any amount of orchestrated grandeur ever could. It was a night of quiet satisfaction, a prelude to a celebration built on love, not obligation or expense. Cookout day dawned perfect. 75 degrees, a gentle breeze rustling through the park trees, and not a single cloud in the sky. It felt like the universe was smiling on our unconventional celebration. Guests started arriving mid-afternoon, bringing their lawn chairs, their potluck dishes, and their stories. The pavilion quickly filled with laughter and the delicious aroma of various homemade foods. My grandpa, a man known for his dry wit, showed up wearing a custom-printed t-shirt that read, "I survived the elopement." He wore it with a twinkle in his eye, a testament to his good humor and ultimate acceptance. It made everyone laugh, a true icebreaker. Our friends, true to their word, brought inflatable unicorn floaties for the nearby lake, and soon a small contingent of adults and kids were splashing around, adding to the festive atmosphere. The air buzzed with conversation. Kids played cornhole, and dogs, yes, several furry guests made an appearance, chased after frisbees. My mom and his mom, who had been a little reserved with each other during the initial reconciliation brunch, were now side by side, animatedly exchanging potato salad recipes. Their laughter, loud and genuine, easily outcompeted the acoustic guitar music my sister was expertly curating through her Bluetooth speaker. It was a beautiful sight, a testament to the healing power of shared food and shared joy. As dusk began to settle, casting a warm golden glow over the park, we set up a borrowed projector and a bedsheet. It was time for the official viewing. We screened the 11-minute ceremony, the raw, unedited footage from the courthouse. Half the crowd, mostly the older relatives, teared up at the sight of our simple vows and genuine emotion. The other half, our friends, cheered and clapped, hooting at the officiant's mispronunciation and our slightly awkward but heartfelt kiss. It was a shared experience, a collective witness to our private moment, finally made public afterward. We cut the small lemon cake, a perfect symbol of our personalized celebration. We raised mason jar mimosas, clinking them together, and danced barefoot on the grass to the upbeat salsa music my sister had put on. There were no formal speeches, no long toasts, Just shouts of love and congratulations yelled over the music, punctuated by the clinking of jars and the happy sounds of people enjoying themselves. It wasn't the wedding anyone expected, but it was exactly the celebration we needed. Authentic, joyful, and full of love. As the cookout wound down and the fairy lights began to truly glow in the deepening twilight, something truly special happened. We had explicitly stated no gifts on our informal invite, emphasizing that their presence was the only present we needed. But our guests, being the wonderful people they are, found a way to give us something far more precious than anything on a registry. Instead of traditional wedding gifts, people brought handwritten advice, little notes, scribbled on index cards, torn pieces of paper, even cocktail napkins. They were full of wisdom, humor, and heartfelt sentiments. We started reading them aloud as the crowd thinned, my partner and I taking turns, our voices soft in the evening air. Never go to bed angry. Always kiss goodnight, even after a fight. Share the last slice of pizza. It's a true test of love. Let him control the TV remote on Sundays, but only if he promises to listen to your commentary. Always have a secret stash of chocolate just for you. Remember to laugh, especially when things get tough. Travel often, even if it's just to the next town over. Support each other's dreams, even the crazy ones. Keep dating each other, forever. Always say, I love you, before hanging up the phone. We pinned them all on a clothesline we'd strung between two trees, a beautiful, fluttering tapestry of advice. Reading them aloud, listening to the murmurs of agreement, and the occasional chuckle from the remaining guests, we felt incredibly rich. Richer than any fancy china set or expensive kitchen appliance could ever make us. These were gifts of experience, of love, of shared humanity. They were a beautiful, tangible representation of the community that surrounded and supported us, reminding us that marriage wasn't just about two people, but about the web of relationships that held them up. It was a powerful, unexpected blessing, and it filled our hearts with a warmth that outshone any material possession. As dusk truly settled, painting the sky in hues of deep purple and orange, and the last of our friends began to depart, we found ourselves in a quiet circle, just us, and both our moms, sitting on picnic blankets, surrounded by the remnants of a joyful day. The air was cool and peaceful, filled with the lingering scent of barbecue and happiness. It was a moment for reflection, for the deeper conversations that had been waiting beneath the surface. My mom, leaning back against a tree, sighed contentedly. You know, she began, her voice soft, I still wish I'd seen you sign the paper. That moment, that official step. She paused, then looked at me, a gentle smile on her face. But, yet this feels like you. This chaos, this joy, this mess. It's so utterly you two. His mom nodded in agreement. Honestly, she admitted, the intimacy of today, just being here, laughing, sharing stories. It really does beat the hypothetical ballroom stress. All that fuss, all that money. This felt real. More real. Their words were a balm, a final profound layer of healing. To hear them acknowledge that our unconventional path, despite their initial disappointment, truly reflected who we were, was incredibly validating. It wasn't just forgiveness, it was understanding. It was acceptance, not just of our marriage, but of us. We promised them, right there on the picnic blankets under the fairy lights, that if we ever decided to renew our vows, maybe on a big anniversary, decades down the line, they would get front row seats. And, just to add a touch of humor and nostalgia, we promised them each a disposable camera, so they could capture every single moment from their own unique, unfiltered perspective. It was a small, silly promise, but it sealed the moment, a testament to the enduring love and resilience of family. The quiet talk, under the fading light, felt like the true closing chapter of our elopement story, opening the way for the many chapters of our marriage to come. Back home, after the last of the cookout cleanup was done, we curled up on the couch, exhausted but incredibly happy. We pulled up the video of our courthouse ceremony, which we quietly uploaded to YouTube, and started scrolling through the comments. It was fascinating, a whole new layer of interaction, a digital extension of our celebration. The comments were a wild mix, a true reflection of the internet's diverse opinions. My parents would murder me if I did this. You guys are so brave. Saving this for my courthouse plans. Seriously, you just inspired me. The quilt part made me sob. What a beautiful grandma. Okay, but where did you get the blazer? Asking for a friend who's also planning a secret wedding? This is what it's all about. Not the show, but the love. I eloped 15 years ago, and it was the best decision we ever made. No regrets. My aunt had a huge wedding and is now divorced. My cousin eloped and they're still together. Coincidence? I think not. The ramen part got me. So authentic. I cried when your mom cried, and then I cried when she smiled. The emotional roller coaster of this video. It was incredible to see how our story resonated with so many people. Viewers shared their own elopement stories, some from just last week, others from decades ago, proving that secret weddings, far from being a fleeting trend, have a long and rich history. They never truly stop rippling, affecting not just the couple, but everyone who hears their tale. It was a powerful reminder that while our decision felt deeply personal, it tapped into a universal desire for authenticity, for prioritizing love over spectacle. The comments section, usually a chaotic space, became a testament to the diverse, beautiful ways people choose to commit to each other. Looking back, if we could rewind the clock, would we still elope? Absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt. The core decision, the desire for intimacy and simplicity, remains something we wouldn't change. It was the right path for us, and it set the tone for a marriage built on our own terms. However, if we had a do-over, there's one significant thing we would handle differently: the timing of the reveal to our parents. Instead of waiting a full 24 hours, letting them discover it the next day, we would have texted them the very same day, immediately after the ceremony, perhaps even from the steps of the courthouse. We would have prepared them for the shock, perhaps with a short, loving message explaining our decision, followed by a video call. Maybe we would have even included them in the video call witness list, allowing them to be virtually present for those 11 crucial minutes. It wouldn't have been the same as being there in person, but it would have been a gesture of inclusion, a way to soften the blow and prevent that initial profound feeling of exclusion. The lesson we learned, perhaps the hardest one, was that the speed of honesty matters more than the size of the ceremony. While we prioritized our peace of mind in the moment, we inadvertently created a void of information that allowed hurt and confusion to fester. A quicker, more proactive communication, even if it still delivered unexpected news, would have demonstrated our love and respect for them, even in our unconventional choice. It's a fine line to walk, balancing personal desires with family feelings, but we learned that a little more immediate transparency could have smoothed out some of those initial painful ripples. It wouldn't have changed our why, but it would have certainly impacted the how of our reveal, making it a little gentler on the people we love most. Ultimately, what did this whole whirlwind experience teach us? We set out to marry each other, plain and simple. Not to orchestrate a production, not to fulfill societal expectations, and certainly not to create family drama. We wanted to commit our lives to one another in a way that felt authentic and true to us. The fallout, the subsequent emotional roller coaster with our families and friends, taught us invaluable lessons. It taught us that families, even the most loving ones, need time to rewrite their expectations. They need space to process, to grieve the wedding they envisioned, and then, hopefully, to embrace the reality of the one you chose. It taught us that love, truly, can stretch to accommodate both privacy and inclusion, even if sometimes it takes a little extra effort and a lot of honest conversation to bridge the gap. Our marriage began with the humble steam of ramen, the sterile echoes of a courthouse, and a clandestine thrill. It then grew, organically, into the warm glow of backyard fairy lights, the comforting weight of a quilted blessing, and the shared laughter of a potluck celebration. It's a journey that proved, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that weddings are not the destination. They are merely prologues. Beautiful, sometimes messy, often complicated prologues to the much larger, much richer, and infinitely more important book of marriage itself. And ours, we realized, was off to a truly unforgettable start. If you've been team small and secret, or team big fat wedding, drop your take in the comments. Would you elope, or do you need the aisle moment? If this story helped you imagine your own low drama day, smash subscribe, hit the bell, and tell us below, courthouse or cathedral, what's your vibe?